First things first, Slash. How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay. Before we talk about the album, they made recently about you a documentary titled Slash Raised on the Sunset Strip.
I haven't seen it.
But going back to that, and then you played a couple of gigs there as well.
Yeah.
Do you remember a gig you saw when you were younger that had an impact on you on the Sunset Strip?
I think I saw a lot of gigs when I was a little kid. I guess they all had a sort of an impact because I was really fascinated with the whole sort of situation, you know, the setup and everything. But I think the first really impactful rock and roll show I saw once I started playing guitar and all that kind of stuff was the World Music Festival in 1978 in Los Angeles.
Okay, what was it about this?
It was just a 2-day festival with a bunch of different bands, sort of like what happens here in Europe, you know.
Right.
It was like Aerosmith and Van Halen and a bunch of other bands one day, and Ted Nugent and Cheap Trick and a bunch of other bands. I think UFO, REO Speedwagon, you know, just a whole slew of bands. So it was a big event. It was pretty cool. But I'd seen the Stones prior to that, and I'd seen David Bowie, and I'd seen all these folk artists, Joni Mitchell and Helen Reddy and James Taylor and all that stuff, hanging out with my parents before that. You know?
Right. So what was it like then playing there for the first time about 20 years later?
Playing at the Coliseum?
Or just at the Sunset Strip? Or
That was, you know, I live in LA, so it was more of a sentimental kind of thing to go back and play at the clubs that I started out at. You know, I'd seen, I mean, Guns N' Roses started out at the Troubadour and the Roxy and the Whiskey, but I mean, I'd seen Motley Crue at the Whiskey, you know, I'd seen Quiet Riot, you know, all these other bands at those clubs when I was younger. So it was cool.
And having done in the past years many huge gigs in sellout crowd stadiums, what was it like to do those intimate gigs again?
I actually love playing. I mean, you know, we're a little loud for some of those really small places, but I love that immediate reaction, that immediate interaction that happens with a crowd that's like right up against you. That's always my favorite. The bigger the venue, the harder it is to really relate to the audience. So the energy starts to dissipate the bigger the place is, you know, that immediate energy. You know.
Does this come through then in the way you play? Do you play differently at, well, not necessarily acoustically, but?
Well, I mean, I probably tend to play, depending on how well you can read the audience, I definitely play better if I can read the audience better, for sure. Because I thrive on energy, you know. I don't get into a room and it's just me and the band on stage and the crowd is watching. There's an interaction that happens with the audience. And the more I can see that, the more into it I am. So I have played a lot of like tours where it was just nothing but stadiums, and there's a lot of disconnect that happens when you're doing that. Okay,
so even when you started doing your solo work in around 2010, were the gigs then smaller, and was that pleasing to you in that way?
No, I mean, I think one of the things that drew me, you know, like when Guns N' Roses was over for me, before that even ended, I put together a band called Snake Pit, which was just to go back and play in the small places and to rediscover what I love about what it is that I do. And then I've sort of been bouncing around that kind of scene for a long time. But when this started, we started out in theaters, which I think is the happy medium between small clubs and arenas, you know.
And this love for the music, did you find it? Did you rediscover it?
Oh yeah. It was really cathartic for me to go back and play in more intimate rooms.
Because your career has spanned almost 30 years, or even more than 30 years now. Is it difficult to keep that hunger going?
No, not at all. I mean, I thrive on it. I love it more and more the more I do it.
Okay.
You know?
Is it, well,
That's what keeps me here. That's why I'm
do
here.
you know where it comes from, or is it some intrinsic?
No, it's just some sort of internal thing. I mean, it's just a passion for music and a passion for playing live, and it's such a huge part of what makes me function. You know, so it's really sort of my life's blood is to be able to go out and do that.
Right. Now we don't have a lot of time, so we'll skip over. We have to skip over a lot of things, so we'll go to the record. Do you remember the first song you wrote for World on Fire?
I think, well, really, there's a song called Dirty Girl. There's a couple of different songs. There's 3 different songs that had origins in Apocalyptic Love.
Okay.
Shadow Life was originally You're a Lie, and we took one of the parts out of You're a Lie, and it became Shadow Life. And then Dirty Girl is an older one, and then there's a song called Too Far Gone, which I started writing when we were in the final days of pre-production for Apocalyptic.
And having gone through Apocalyptic Love with Miles, and then as a first full-fledged album with him, was it this time around easier to get everything, the schedules together?
No, we didn't have a problem with schedules the first time around. It was always easy. It's just, it's definitely, this record was, you know, I think the band had more experience, you know, having done one record already, and sort of really felt comfortable in the studio. And, you know, we toured for a year on Apocalyptic Love, and we really started to establish a good, you know, I mean, it's just been a thing that's been in a work in progress, because it's always been good, like a good connection, but just the more we play together and all that kind of stuff, it starts to build a certain kind of momentum.
Right.
So by the time we went and did this record, I had a lot of material, and we just went in and started jamming. It was a lot of fun.
Can you, because Miles is in a different band as well, Alter Bridge, can you take me quickly through the songwriting process? Do you write together in the same room?
Well, like when we're sound checking and stuff, when I have new ideas, I write on the road. Okay. So when I write on the road, if I come up with something that I like, I'll show it to Miles, and we'll fuck around with it in sound checks and stuff like that. And then when the tour's over, I will have accumulated a lot of material. Most of it Miles and the other guys have heard, and Miles will go off with Alter Bridge, and I'll start rehearsing, working on arrangements with Todd and Brent, and I'll send demos to Miles, and so he can start thinking about stuff. And then when he's done with Alter Bridge, or when he takes a break, he'll fly in, and we'll start really working on the songs together.
And I assume, maybe incorrectly, that he takes writing the lyrics?
Yeah, Miles writes the lyrics, yeah.
Do you talk about them?
Uh-huh.
Can you give me an example of a lyric he wrote, or a song he put the lyrics to that you were really impressed by?
I just impressed with his writing lyrics, his lyric writing in general. Okay. I can't really give you a specific, like, one song. I mean, on this record, there was a song that was influenced a lot by stuff that he and I both have interest in, which was animal poaching. So we did the song called Beneath the Savage Sun, which was written directly about that. And I know that was something that we were both really talking about a lot. But all the songs usually come from some place that I've heard him talking about, or we've had conversations about, or whatever.
But before you started working on the record, did you have a kind of an idea in mind what the record would be?
No.
Okay. No, well, sometimes people have like a concept they work.
No, it's definitely not a concept record. It's just a collection of songs about whatever is happening in your life at that time.
Mm-hmm. Well, the title is World on Fire. When in the process did the title pop up?
The title didn't come up until we were mixing.
Okay.
We were so busy making the record, and the record was going so fast that I didn't know what the album title was going to be, and therefore I didn't know what the cover was going to be. But we had the song World on Fire, and it just, at the time, it started to seem like a good album title, because it just, everything that was going on and globally at the time, just, it made sense, you know.
So did the song have a certain specific meaning?
The song has nothing to do with any of that. The song is basically about living every moment like it was your last. But the album title is more broad.
Okay. And this is always a kind of an unfair question, but do you have a favorite or a song that sticks out for you on the record?
No. I mean, there's a lot of songs that stick out on the record, but you don't have a favorite song on the record. It's sort of like maybe you're just too close to it, and maybe sometimes years later you can pick a song that turns out to be your favorite. But at this point in time, it's pretty much like everything is sort of one big thing.
Okay, and looking towards the future. You've done 2 albums now with Miles, and not to take anything away from the wonderful work he has done, but the first solo record was collaborations with a lot of different people. When you write songs, does it happen that you hear a different singer, or you have somebody else in mind for it?
No, I mean right now I just wrote that particular record with that idea in mind, where I was really thinking about different singers and yeah, I was just writing the music with no singers in mind, and then after I'd written it, I would like who would sound good singing on this song, who would sound good on that song, and that's where those ideas came from, all the different people I used. But now I just write the same way, but I just give it to Miles, and
So it's already with him in mind that
yeah. I mean, I don't think about the vocals when I'm doing the music.
Okay. Well, finally, on that subject, there's one instrumental song on the record, Safari In. Can you tell me quickly where this came from? Why you put an instrumental song on there?
Every so often I put instrumentals on stuff. I have something that I'm jamming, and I don't really actually write an arrangement for it, or maybe I do. I don't know. I just I thought, well, we'll just make this instrumental.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.